Polypede Works here, coming to you once again with One Piece chapter 1176 entitled With Pride. So we got a color spread this week and a promotional art promoting One Piece live action season 2 coming out on March 10th. So one thing I just want to point out about the color spread here, we have all the Straw Hats on gold and the Sunny and Jinbei are in the back. This is like, I don't know what number of color spread this is, but yeah, Jinbei's in the back again. And I think this is the third or fourth time he's positioned with a sake saucer, which is odd because he's not a big drinker. So I wonder why that has become the default on a multitude of occasions now. Very strange, very strange. I love that Franky'S with Usopp. I love that because that's the father and son relationship that I know. I'm just saying. But yeah, going on with our chapter, we see Loki flying overhead and Franky says something amazing. Ow! When has he said ow? When it's been 20 years. I have not heard that in I don't know how long. And he's commenting how much commotion's going on after Loki let off his big lightning attack, right? That's when we cut to Vegapunk Lilith opening the box that had Vegapunk inside, but she pulls out something called an Omni Drain Converter, or an ODC for short, and cut back to Franky, and we can clearly see that Bonnie is lounging on top of his head. I wanted this. I was hoping she would start to hang out with Franky. I love this. I want this all the time. This is precious. And that's when Lilith goes on to say, I'm fairly certain hover tech should be feasible on Elbaf. Don't you feel it over there, back there? This place is teeming with energy. It's all around us, which Vegapunk Stella talked about free-flowing energy in the air. So I believe this is a callback to that. She goes on to say, have you never tried harnessing anything stronger than cola to power yourself? And Franky's confused. We cut back to the group that contains Jinbei and the others in it, and they're moving off, reacting to the giant dragon that is Loki. And Usopp is just astonished that since Luffy is with this giant dragon, that means they must be on their side. Nami comments that Dummy's pulling some reckless stunt again, and she prepares Zeus, and that's when they find Saul. And Saul says, sorry, I got no business lying around here at a time like this. And I forgot, oh no, it was Sommers. Sommers is who beat him up, that's right, way back when. But that's when Nami unleashes Zeus on the burning library. I wonder where Biblo is in all this. Is he just hanging out in the fire? I just thought about that. So yeah, Nami prepares Zeus. Zeus says, leave it to me, Nami. I have saved plenty of water like you ask. And that is when Nami unleashes pouring rain tempo. This is the first time in which a big rainstorm like this is unleashed by Nami. But it makes sense because Zeus is a cloud. So that's not surprising. And yeah, Zeus drenches the library. But that's when Remo Shifu Killingham comes up from the rear and uses some big creature to gobble up Zeus. And we find that this creature is a lindworm. Now, this confirms to me that all the talk that I have been spewing out for a few videos now about how Oda seems to be inspired by draconic D&D rules comes to the forefront here, because a lindworm is a draconic creature that's very serpentine-like, but only has one set of limbs. And we've covered that in this chart that I've been pulling up and talking about Loki and Monkey D. Dragon and what makes a full dragon and what doesn't. So yes, this is a type of creature that came up in that chart, and it is a serpentine draconic creature like a worm, but it has limbs, whereas a regular worm does not. So this is pretty sick. This also means that a lindworm most likely is a devil fruit out there somewhere. Now, it gets a little weird when talking about guys like this because I don't know if this would be like a snake fruit or a dragon fruit. But seeing as how the dragon fruit class has been very loosey-goosey, including a whole number of creatures, I could believe believe this is a dragon fruit if this is a dull fruit out there somewhere. We'll probably talk about this in another video. But yeah, so the Lindworm does gobble up Zeus, and that is when the ODCs are launched out by Lilith. They fly around, they collect energy, and they freeze the entire landscape around the library, which is pretty sick. I love that Vegapunk Lilith is an active participant. That's really good. I like that a lot. So yeah, the Omni Drain converters really did work. Now, moving on from that, we actually see Saul coming with Robin onto the scene to see that the library has been fully extinguished. And that is when Lilith pops out a cola from the ODC machine. She says, Franky, take this for a whirl. Hold up. This bottle looks like it's gonna burst. And that's when Lilith says, I call it Super Vega Cola. Now, this makes a lot of sense because if you remember way back in Egghead, the food machine on Egghead was able to produce cola. So Vegapunk has always been associated with cola since Egghead. I'm so happy that we finally get a power up for Franky. This is sick. But yeah, she goes on to say, your internal structure is truly magnificently designed. You're at least on par with the Pacifista, which we figured when he started doing Rackle Beams. We figured that. But I was shocked to learn that you managed to run yourself on plain old cola. Listen good now. Your fuel is your passion. When you use this stuff, your power will explode. And she's got stars in her eyes. My goodness, this is fantastic. Okay, so Zeus is still gobbled up by the Lindworm. Nami is coming to save him. And that's when Rimoshifu Killingham prepares the Lindworm to devour the Owl Library. But Jinbei is on the scene, ready to defend the Owl Library. And that's when we find out that Rimoshifu Killingham is racist, as he calls Jinbei a dirty fishman. And of course, Sanji does not like this and sees that Rimoshifu Killingham is an out-of-touch brat that doesn't even know a former warlord. However, I have to make a critique here. Why is it that this is the only thing that Jinbei seems to offer to the narrative to show that a group of people that we know to be racist is racist? This is a very useless scene. I mean, of course, he's racist, but okay, whatever. But that's when Sanji declares that he'll pop that helmet of his, which we talked about, actually, that his helmet would get cracked at some point and that he would probably spaz out because of it. I'll link that video here somewhere. I swear, we talked about this. I made a whole video about it because I thought that was a funny thing, because he's the only Holy Knight that we've seen so far that is wearing a Celestial Dragon bubble. But after absorbing the cola into his body, Franky gets a major power boost. Oh, and I almost forgot. After 20 years, we find that Franky still has the belly fridge from the pre-time skip. This is the first time that we're seeing the belly fridge in the post-time skip. This is amazing because I don't recall at any point that Franky has opened up his gut to show that he has the fridge in the post-time skip. We haven't seen it in any arc. Not in Fisherman Island, not in Punk Hazard. At no point have we seen this up until now. So yes, he still has the belly fridge. Matter of fact, if I recall, in Saboti Archipelago, when they're about to shove off to Fisherman Island, I think he was just drinking cola regularly. He didn't open up his gut to put the cola inside. So yeah, he's got the belly fridge. And he responds very well to the new cola as he's super jumping into the air. It almost looks like he's using moonwalk. He jumps so high. And this is a jump. This is a coup de boo, even though it does look like a big fart. Yes. So he says, super! When have we seen a super? It feels like ages. And he says, my jumping power is unreal. All my muscles are raring to go. With this boost, any monster that crosses me is going to be crying for mercy after just one hit. Go, Franky, go. That's what he prepares a super strong in tandem with Jinbei, who prepares a Fishman Karate secret technique, along with Sanji, who fires up Ifrit Jumpy. And that's when we see super strong Dexter, which Dexter is just Latin for right. And he punches the Lindworm in the face, followed by Sanji hitting Rimoshifu Killingham with a Kankase, I think that's how you pronounce it, and decks him right in the top of the head, and that bursts his bubble. Good. And Franky hits the Lindworm from below with a Vagabond drill, the same technique he used on Big Mom way back in Whole Cake Island, which is another weird critique I have for Jinbei, because like I've been saying a few times, even I believe in the movie I made about him, he doesn't have new techniques. Franky'S, he kind of just does the same stuff over and over again. There don't really seem to be many variants either. The only variance that we see is that he sometimes uses different liquid in his attacks, like tea or island cloud, but that's about it, and it's kind of a drag. It is what it is. But that's when we cut to the West Village, in which the warriors of the West Village are facing off against the demonic giants, along with a demon-possessed Dory and Brocky. And they comment how the demons just keep regenerating, and how it seems to be a fruitless battle to keep fighting them. However, that's when Brocky and Dory claim control over themselves. And Brocky says, "Dory, are you still there?" And Dory says, "I'm barely hanging on, Brocky." Zoro is alarmed, and that's when they just find themselves in disgrace, because they realize what they've been saying, what they've been doing, and to harm an elder like Jarl is a terrible, terrible disgrace. And they come to a resolve and decide to decapitate one another. And it's so metal because they choose to die with pride. Oh, that's the One Piece I know, baby. Yes, sir. That's hot. That's hot. But as they decapitate one another, the Dami Reversi actually is canceled, and they are fully healed, even from the injuries from way earlier before they were possessed, because if you recall, Gunko, possessed by Emu, shot off Broggy's arm. But now that arm too, as well as their decapitated heads, are fully restored. So that's weird. I guess that's really on par with what we've been seeing so far, because once Rocksteady Zebek was defeated as well, he returned to normal. I can't say Roger and Garp fully killed him, because I don't think we really got to see that, but I guess they did, and that's how Dami Reversi got canceled, because we see here that yes, death does cancel Dami Reversi, and Brocky and Dory are fully back online as themselves. So that's when Stanson, Haruden, Brocky, Dory, and Zoro come to the conclusion that they must kill all the demon-possessed giants in order to restore them back to normal, and they're ready to go on that. So that's very funny, and it's super sick to see Zoro standing amongst these giants. It's so cool. I love it a lot. But we do have a break next week. That is a shame. But in the meantime, I will keep you all supplied with One Piece content, because we have a lot to talk about, especially seeing as how the SBS recently popped off, and the One Piece live action season 2 is coming up in no time at all. So I'll be covering all of that. But if you are liking the content so far, hit the like button and drop a subscribe if you are liking my content even more, followed by the bell so you never miss a video. On top of that, if you could you please hit the hype button, because it does help. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What's it?